Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock. Coming up, I'll tell you why we need to pump the brakes on all this Lamar Jackson hype in Baltimore.
And I'm Colin Cowherd, and I'll tell you why Tom Brady will actually miss Jimmy Garoppolo. He will. Speak for yourself starts now.
Sure did last year. Missed him. Missed him big time. All right, hello and welcome. We're joined today by a couple of longtime NFL players, Greg Jennings and Jeff Schwartz. Let's start in the NFL, where the Rams just handed out another big contract, giving Todd Gurley a 4-year, $60 million extension with $45 million guaranteed, a record for running backs. The deal comes just a week after they gave Brandon Cooks a big extension before he even took the field. Meanwhile, their best defensive player, Aaron Donald, is still without a new deal. Cowherd, you like what the Rams are doing here?
I don't have a definitive yes. They got a bunch of great players. Brandon Cooks, terrific. Ndamukong Suh, Marcus Peters, terrific. Sam Shields, Green Bay, good player. They already, Aqib Talib. They already had the best punter in the league, the best kicker in the league. They already had one of the best tackles. I mean, how often in sports do you, if this was the Yankees and they added 6 baseball players who are all-stars, you'd be like, oh, that's great. Football's weird, though. It's a team game. It's choreography. I don't have a problem with the Lakers getting, NBA's a star league. It's a personality league. NFL's not a personality league. There's a lot of big contracts and big egos and big stars in that locker room.
Yeah, you put a positive spin on all those other sports. They're just not as hard as football. And so they're not as difficult. And so you can be a little bit lazy. You can be satisfied, play baseball, play basketball, do it. Football is for the unsatisfied. Football's for the angry and the pissed off. Everybody in L.A. is fat and happy right now except for Aaron Donald, and soon he will be too. I don't like it. Everybody's too satisfied. I've seen this with old Kansas City Chiefs teams. I can remember a 2003 Chiefs team, 13-3, lost in the first round of the playoffs. 9 guys went to the Pro Bowl. Dick Vermeil and everybody just thought that, even though they lost in the first round, they just thought we figured out the entire league. Everybody's 7-9 the next year. And it was over. I don't like this. Too many satisfied football players sometimes is a disaster.
It's interesting.
I would have paid Aaron Donald before I paid the wide receiver, no offense,
yes,
or the running back. Because when you think about teams that have won recently, we don't say, well, they won because of the running back or they won because of the wide receiver. They win with pressure up the middle and protecting guys, which the Rams have as well. I just don't buy the Rams as high as everyone else does for a multitude of reasons. But one, they just play better quarterbacks this year. They play 6 or 7 better quarterbacks than last year. I know they have all the parts kind of there, but I think the hype is too much. We've seen the league year after year. The teams that are most hype just don't reach that hype besides the Patriots. We'll take them out of this. And so the Rams, to me, I like who they have. They have great personnel, but I don't think they're going to live up to that hype that they've set.
I like what they've done. I honestly like it. I think the question mark would be the Brandon Cooks deal. That would be the only question mark. I'm not knocking that he shouldn't have got it or he should, but that would be the only question mark. But paying Todd Gurley, somebody who's 36% of your offense, like that was well worth. I think you start there. When you look at other running backs or other players in this league, and he led the league in yards from scrimmage. He led the league in he was first in receiving receptions on their team, second in receiving yards. Like, he means so much to this team, and he does it the right way. He goes to work. He keeps his head down. We don't hear anything about him in the public eye, outside of the locker room. You don't hear anything. He does it the right way. He's a young guy. We didn't even hear about him having these contract talks. Like, it just kind of popped up.
His doesn't bother me. Let me ask. So Marcus Peters, Andy Reid's a tolerant guy. Okay, Andy Reid has been able to deal with personalities. He's like, Ndamukong Suh, I've heard NFL scouts tell me he plays for himself. He doesn't play within a scheme. So those are 2 guys. Aqib Talib, actually I like if he's on a winning team. When they go sideways, Aqib can be trouble. Man, that's a lot of diva. That's a lot of dysfunction, no?
It's a lot of dysfunction. Sorry to cut you. It's a lot of dysfunction, but high risk, high reward. if you can take a chance on all these guys because you're not tied to them financially. Akeem Talib, you're not tied to him financially like with a substantial amount of money. Marcus Peters, you're not tied to him financially with a substantial amount of money. Even Ndamukong Suh, like Ndamukong Suh, I believe, and my hope is that he'll be a different player because he has an Aaron Donald who is really their #1 interior defensive lineman. So now I think that will motivate and we will then see another version of Ndamukong Suh.
My issue is ego run amok. And I'm not talking about players, because I think we can look at all these players. Hey, paying Todd Gurley makes sense. You can look at all these deals individually and say, hey, that makes sense. This guy can do this and this guy can do that, and it makes sense. I just think, and again, I'm not taking a knock at Sean McVay, but he's so young, and he had success so instantly. I don't think he realizes how hard this thing is and being a head coach. And so the Rams are operating to me like they have figured out football. And every decision makes sense. Let's pay this guy. Let's grab this guy. Brandon Cooks, you haven't even played for us, but let's pay you, blah, blah. They feel like they figured everything out. And I've never seen anyone.
Well, they did let Alec Ogletree go, and they let Robert Quinn go. So they have made decisions. To your original point, though, they feel really L.A., don't they? They kind of feel star-studded a little, right? Well, like, that's what worries me, that this town already, it loves treating stars. Like, L.A. loves stars. This team feels it's, like, full of stars.
They're building their team like the Seahawks did with Russell Wilson under his rookie contract and like the Eagles did last year. Remember, the Eagles brought in Alshon Jeffrey on a 1-year deal, Timmy Jernigan on a 1-year deal. Those guys played well, and they extended them. Look at Sue, 1-year deal, obviously. I think he'll be more motivated than most years because he's on that 1 year. He wants to get paid again, right? Guys want to get paid. Peters, kind of on a rookie deal as well, the end of his deal. He wants to get paid. Right. He's going to play well. So I think these guys will be motivated, maybe not for the team, but for themselves, at least individually, to have great years to get paid.
All right, to a guy definitely paying attention to the Todd Gurley news, Le'Veon Bell of the Steelers. He was seeking more guaranteed money from Pittsburgh. And the Steelers reportedly only offered him a deal worth $10 million. That's it, guaranteed. Well shy of Gurley's record, $45 million. Bell responded after the news broke today, tweeting, quote, "Yeah, Todd," adding, LOL, people thought I was tripping. Whitlock, should Bell be bothered by Gurley's enormous deal?
No, he should be happy because the market for running backs and top running backs just moved, and it moved his direction. The issues that Le'Veon Bell has is he hasn't been as clean off the field as Todd Gurley. And so, Le'Veon has wanted to get paid like a wide receiver. I don't think that's going to happen. But in terms of the $10 million guaranteed they offered him and Gurley gets 45, that does put $30 million in guarantee in play for Le'Veon Bell. He's that kind of player. And if he had no problems off the field, no suspensions, he could probably demand what Gurley got. But because he hasn't handled his business off the field as well, he'll get a little less.
Well, also, the Steelers have 2 Pro Bowl offensive linemen, a superstar receiver, and the next great young receiver. They're good at tight end. They have a Hall of Fame quarterback. The Rams need Gurley.
Exactly.
Steelers were 10-4 when Le'Veon Bell was out for the suspensions.
They also averaged the same amount of points with Bell and without Bell. The interesting thing about Bell, I'm fascinated to see his free agency because if you look at the teams that have cap space, they don't need running backs. And so we've seen that running backs typically re-sign with their own teams because they see that value within the running back. I think DeMarco Murray was the last guy to get a huge contract. That did not even work out for him as well. So I don't think teams are going to pay him. I really don't. They're not going to pay him as a dual threat player. So I think he's going to be sad when it comes time to get paid because he's not going to get what Gurley got.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I agree with you, Colin. And I do think Le'Veon Bell should be bothered. To your point, yes, be excited for Todd Gurley because he raised the bar, but he should be bothered because, to your point, teams value their running back. A lot of other teams don't really value the running back position because they feel like there are a plethora of guys that can get this done by committee, let alone by. And then when you look at Le'Veon Bell, he's not their #1 guy, even offensively. The glue starts with Ben, then the big playmaker in Antonio Brown, then you look at Le'Veon Bell. With the Rams, it starts with Todd Gurley.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
one more scheme point really quick. His style is so different that he's got to play with that big offensive line. If he goes somewhere and they force him to be like a zone running back where he's got a one cut and go now, he will not succeed. So that's, I think, something that teams will look at as far as grading his film and deciding if he fits into their scheme or not.
Listen, the Rooney family historically is very loyal with coaches, and they tend to pay their quarterbacks. But I think to your point, Le'Veon Bell's got some baggage. And I think the Rooneys are saying, no, we're not going to pay you. And we are one of the first families of this league. And if you can't stay clean and you disrespect us publicly like that, we're going to disrespect you publicly. I mean, when you look at Le'Veon Bell's offer, $10 million guaranteed? I mean, that's less than a third of what Gurley got guaranteed.
Look, I get it, though, from the Steelers' perspective. If his record were clean, if he had no suspensions, I think they would pay him. I just think it comes down. The guy's been in trouble twice, and he hasn't carried it the proper way to get the maximum amount of money. And so I think this is a good day for Le'Veon Bell. The market moved. The Steelers will not bend, though. They're not going to give him Todd Gurley money, and perhaps no team was for the suspensions and for the reasons Jeff's talking about. What system does he fit in with his running style? It's not a running style that you can just play anywhere. So Le'Veon Bell should feel good, but he ain't getting Todd Gurley money, and I don't blame the Steelers for not giving it to him.
Welcome back, Greg Jennings, Jeff Schwartz here. Let's move to Jimmy Garoppolo, whose love life isn't the only thing raising eyebrows. Jimmy G saying in a new interview that he thought he was better than Tom Brady when he joined the Patriots. Adding their competition was so intense, there were times they wanted to kill each other. Brady helped force Jimmy G out of New England. Whitlock, you think Brady's play will actually suffer without Garoppolo pushing him? Because I do.
I know. I saw you on radio today pushing this narrative, and I was like, you know, he left last year and Tom was MVP. He wasn't there all year and Tom was MVP. You know that before Garoppolo, Tom Brady was a mega superstar. 2007, he hasn't had a good backup quarterback. Matt Castle, I don't think was much of a threat. He couldn't even play at USC. And so I just don't, if Brady falls off a cliff or backs up, it'll just be because of Father Tom, not because of Jimmy
Brady's
G.
whole career, he's never been the biggest, the fastest, the best arm. He's played with a chip on his shoulder because he's always been threatened, chasing, or seeking something. He seeked Belichick's approval. He was threatened by Peyton Manning. He was chasing Joe Montana. Garoppolo was a threat. The 2 times Garoppolo played after that awful Monday Night Football Kansas City loss, Garoppolo came in. Next 4 weeks, Brady was 12 touchdowns, no picks, best month of his career. Deflategate, Garoppolo plays. Brady's next 4 games, 14 TDs, no picks, 134 quarterback rating. The 2 best months of his career, because Garoppolo was a threat. So was Peyton Manning. Bill Belichick, he no longer needs his approval. Peyton's out. Big Ben's never been a threat to his legacy. All summer long, he's on vacation.
Age is a threat, Colin.
Yes.
Father Time's a threat.
Garoppolo pushed. Brady's always needed to seek, be threatened, chasing.
Matt Castle didn't push him. And
Yeah,
I
but he
can
was
remember
still
the names of some of these other
He was still seeking
Hoyer.
Belichick's approval. Now he doesn't even need to seek that. He owns the room. Kraft's giving him the franchise. I'm not saying he's going to drop off a cliff, but you don't think Garoppolo pushed him? He told the owner, get him out of town.
I think that Brady is just a rare bird, man. He's a Michael Jordan type.
Exactly. You took in Michael Jordan's Hall of Fame speech, do you realize and recall how many people did not know that they added fuel to his flame that was already a flame? Like, he didn't need them to know. He didn't need them to be present in the locker room, on the court with him. He just needed somebody to question him, somebody to doubt him, somebody to tell him what he possibly couldn't do. That's what great players, the greatest of all times, do. They find any little tidbit that will add to their flame that stays lit.
But Jordan also, when he lost the flame, he retired twice, realizing he didn't have the passion. you see Brady's body this summer? Look like he's in great shape.
He's 40 years old. He's a 40-year-old quarterback.
He may have looked like that at 26, too. I just don't know if there's much different.
His competition now, like you said, is time. He wants to play till he's 45. You can't sell your TB12 method and be here all the time. He wants to play as long as possible. He wants to win as long as possible. To your point, he's a special breed, man. He gets competitive over anything. He wants to win more Super Bowls. He wants to be the best ever. I don't see his fire dropping at all without Garoppolo.
I've seen him on a horse this summer.
Okay.
I mean, he's
also got a family. Look, he's got a family now, too.
Tent.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's
No.
But I think he's enjoying time with his family.
Jeff,
now.
answer this question.
Yeah.
Of all the years you've played, have you seen any of your quarterbacks or any other quarterback train with their helmet and shoulder pads in the offseason?
No.
Exactly. I have not seen that. And I've been around a lot of quarterbacks and trained with a lot of guys.
It's on a yacht there.
I don't care what these are things you do when you still believe that you have everything in you to be the best player that this team could possibly have at the helm. That's his mentality, that's his psyche. That will not change because a player leaves or a player comes in. It is fueled by if a player comes in or possibly if a player leaves, but your psyche is what it is. That shows me right there that he's in a different class of it.
Listen, I think Brady could back up, but it'll be because of age, and just that's what happens to everybody. But because Jimmy Garoppolo's here or there, again, Colin, I think if anything right now, he might be more motivated to prove Belichick isn't the guy. I'm the guy. And he may be more motivated than ever. He might be. Alice Guerrero and him are just taking a little different approach to the offseason, given his age.
He might watch you say that he's going to stink now and he's got motivation.
We know
he watches everything, or someone does.
I think he uses that to motivate himself, to your point. And he's older now. They have to find different ways to train him. And so you
guys don't think Garoppolo fueled him?
I think it did, but I think many things have fueled him throughout his career. To your point, he's never
what fuels him now?
No,
being the best.
Trust me, any player that's brought in as a player who is prominent and who's the guy, you've experienced it, I've experienced it. They bring a guy in, play your position. You notice, you can identify if he is brought in to replace you or he's brought in to fill in. Now, Garoppolo was brought in to eventually replace him. Brady, before anyone noticed it, probably noticed it. And so, yes, that drove him even more, but it didn't do anything to his psyche as far as changing it. It just drove him to prove a point even greater and keep that but. Like, he's the replacement but. He wanted to keep that but in between that, just slide him right in here. No, he's not backing down.
All right, welcome back. Jeff Schwartz is back. We're joined now by the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to college football, where we've gotten used to seeing a lot of offseason antics out of Jim Harbaugh in recent years. But after another disappointing season in Ann Arbor, we've seen a quieter, humbler, quieter Jim Harbaugh this summer, including at yesterday's Big Ten Media Day, where he faced some tough questions.
Came into Ann Arbor with perhaps the most hype of any coach in the history of the Big Ten, maybe in all of college football. A few years later, you've got a third place, and fourth place finish, and you're 1-5 against Michigan State and Ohio State. What do you have to do this year to demonstrate to the Michigan community that you are on the path to achieving what they hired you to achieve?
Well, the improvement will lead to success, will lead to championships.
All right, Cowherd, you think Harbaugh has been humbled by his time in Michigan?
No, I think he thinks he's the best coach in college football. He won in the NFL. He got to a Super Bowl in the NFL. Nick Saban whiffed. Jimbo Fisher can't coach in the NFL. David Shaw, was he a star in the NFL? Was Chris Peterson? He's the only coach in college football who goes, no, I wanted the NFL.
What did he win?
He got to a Super Bowl. He won division.
He got to a Super Bowl.
No, he wasn't a disaster.
Got 8 or 9 national championships.
Spurrier,
get out of here.
Spurrier disaster in the NFL.
Harbaugh won a national title. I mean, Spurrier won a national title.
And was a failure in the NFL.
That's fine. That's fine. These guys coach to win titles, not get there, to win them. And so Harbaugh, the fact that he had to sit and listen to that line of questioning, and the fact that he took it without any snark coming back lets you know the dude has changed. He's been put in his place.
Oh,
the guy's a talented coach. But that's how he should have been treated from day one, rather than everybody falling at his feet. And, oh, my God, you're the greatest thing.
You think he doesn't think he's the best coach?
I don't care what he thinks. I know what's been proven. Urban Meyer's better than him in the Big Ten. Nick Saban, far better than him in college football. That's what's been proven. And so he has an opportunity.
Dabo Swinney
better than him in college
took
football.
4 years and didn't take over a shipwreck like Michigan was.
Michigan had great recruits.
It's a Brady Hoke shot.
No. They had great recruits. They underachieved. There was talent there. Other coaches would have other college. He's been a failure so far at Michigan. Do I think he's a talented guy and has a
failure?
He's got Shea Patterson this year, and they should be
10 wins is failure?
Third,
The
and
Big
fourth.
Ten.
Based off of expectations,
Big
Colin.
Ten football is in a renaissance. That network has made
He
them.
was supposed to be the leader of it.
Well,
and he's not.
By the way, they're favored in magazines this year with Ohio State.
I want to see the proof, Colin. I've been liking Michigan for a long time and following the program for a long time. He has not lived up to expectations, and that's why that reporter stood up representing the fan base in Michigan and asked him what everybody wanted to hear.
That reporter said, you haven't lived up to the hype. Harbaugh doesn't control hype. Media controls hype.
Harbaugh was hyping himself.
No,
he was controlling the hype.
He's quirky and goes to Italy and does wrestling stunts because he
sleeps at recruits' houses and
climbs trees.
Smart. Drinks the milk in the
Hey, Whitlock, you're a big gambler, right?
Yeah.
This looks like, to me, when Jim Harbaugh's talking to the media here, a guy who knows he's got a great hand. He has a great quarterback. For the first time, a pro prospect at quarterback. Returns 14 starters from a pretty good team last year. He only returned 6 last year. They were 8-5. He had to juggle 3 quarterbacks last year. Jim Harbaugh knows, I got a good hand. You know what? I'm not going to gas him up. I'm going to slow play everybody here. I'm going to downplay things.
I hope you're
They
right.
are going to crush things in the Big Ten this year. Now, the schedule's brutal. At Ohio State.
That's a coach that's been humbled?
At Michigan State.
I mean,
at
can
Notre
you believe
Dame.
it? He's eating pizza.
Well, look at that.
That's the most arrogant thing in the world you could do.
That's
eat
humbled? You think that's a humbled guy?
Those are all last year, Colin.
All coaches, by the way, have egos. Every coach thinks they're the best coach of all time. I don't think he's been humbled as far as thinking he's the best, but I think he's learned, look, we can't have these great expectations. It's my 4th year. This is my year. I have my entire recruiting class now for the last 4 years in place. My defense has been great. My offense, it's my job. I'm the offense coordinator. I need to make the offense better. You mentioned Shea Patterson. Finally has a quarterback in place. The conference is really good. I just don't see them beating Ohio State this year. Penn State has really come up. Look, Penn State came from sanctions to where they are now. Harbaugh had talent and still can't win in the Big Ten, so there's a lot of pressure on him.
Jeff, you've made my point. I'm glad you mentioned
Wait,
Penn
can't
State.
win, Jeff.
Well, hold for
He's
a second.
third and fourth. He's supposed to. Michigan brought him into a national championships. End of story.
Yeah, but that's
why they brought him in.
Michigan's. That's Michigan. Washington bought Chris Peterson and won national titles.
He made the
Geographically,
playoff
they're
already.
not going to.
Probably not, but he made a playoff in Washington with a team that was what, like 4-8 the year before?
James Franklin has done what Jim Harbaugh was supposed to do. James Franklin has outperformed Jim Harbaugh so far. I actually think this year, with Shea Patterson, met the kid this summer, he is super talented, and they should beat Ohio State this year and should contend for the Big Ten title with Shea Patterson. It's all there, but I want to see it. We anointed this guy and thought he was just going to come in and run roughshod over everybody in college football because he took one team to the Super Bowl and got beat. I want to see proof of it. And so do Michigan fans. They want to see proof. They've had it up to here with all the hype, all the antics.
Couple fluky last-second losses, and he'd have a win over Michigan State and Ohio State, and we'd be like, 10, 10, 10, we're happy.
His first year exceeded all expectations. Nobody anticipated 10-3.
Hoax.
Well, that's the problem. Jim Harbaugh got expectations sky high, and now you guys are out here trashing him like he's not a winner in the Big Ten. I mean, 10-3, 10-3, 8-5. The Michigan fans are ecstatic over this. Seriously.
Jason.
Do you know what they were before he got there, Whitlock?
Jason, I worked in Ann Arbor, Michigan. My head football coach made his bones at Michigan.
Yes.
Again, you can shout all kinds of things. I actually know people in Ann Arbor, longtime Michigan fans. Satisfied? Are you kidding me? That reporter just stood up and represented what Michigan fans think and are saying. Ecstatic at 8-5.
Why did they sign him to a longer contract?
That's not Michigan fans. That's the University of Michigan.
That's the fans in the school.
The fans aren't running the school. There is dissatisfaction. Again,
so they want to run him out.
Who said this? Why are you hanging yourself?
You guys
Why
are
does every
so
argument
negative.
have to be taken out of context?
I just feel like Jim
worked
Harbaugh
in
is
Ann
getting a raw
Arbor,
deal.
lived there, and know
If you could, by the way, Michigan State's recruiting's gone into the tank. Would you rather have Harbaugh in state or Mark D'Antoni? It ain't close. Not even close. D'Antoni can't recruit.
Colin, you're comparing Michigan State and Michigan fans. You just to even put Michigan State on the same platform of them is insulting. No. They're the little brother. So, no, of course they don't want to be Mark D'Antoni.
But if you put Harbaugh available outside of Ohio State, if you said Harbaugh's available on the open market, most of the Big Ten would say we'd take Harbaugh. He's a really good coach. He's won everywhere.
That's accurate.
Right.
But he gets to coach at Michigan. You take every coach other than James Franklin and Urban Meyer, and they'd rather be coaching at Michigan. And it's a lot easier.
He's the fourth best coach, right? In conference, Franklin, Meyer, and Chris.
No. I think Urban and Jim are the best coach in the conference.
Paul Chris.
I think Paul Chris has a great staff. I think Wisconsin just does sports right. But if you told me on the open market, Harbaugh or Paul Chris, I'd take Harbaugh.
I think you may be proven right down the road with Harbaugh. But based off of what we've seen the last 3 years, you can't put him ahead of James Franklin or Urban Meyer.
I like both of them. I'm not saying I don't like James Franklin. Open market, who gets more?
At this point, I'm not sure. At this point.
To Baltimore, where Lamar Jackson appears to be going back on his pre-draft pledge not to play wide receiver, taking some snaps in the slot at Ravens camp and earning the praise of offensive coordinator Marty Mornhinweg, been around a long time. He says Lamar is, quote, way ahead of the curve. Whitlock, do you think Lamar's potentially getting too much hype?
Yes, I think it's unfair to him how much focus there is on Lamar Jackson. He got Josh Allen drafted way ahead of him. Josh Rosen drafted way ahead of him. Baker Mayfield. All the other quarterbacks in the first round. The most conversation seems to be about Lamar Jackson. And, oh, my God, he lined up in slot. Yeah. He did this. Are they playing two quarterbacks? I think there's too much focus on him, too much expectations for him coming out as a rookie. I think it's unfair to Lamar Jackson. That's not a knock on Lamar Jackson's talent. It's a knock on us as the media. Are we doing this guy a favor by focusing this much attention on him this early?
Yeah, I mean, I still think he's a project. If you go back and look last 20 years, if you don't complete 60% of your throws in college, generally it doesn't work. Now, Matt Stafford was right on the line, but a lot of people think Matt Stafford's underachieved for his position in the draft, number one, and his talent. Add to that, he had Bobby Petrino, probably the most sophisticated offensive head coach in college football. 52, 55, 59, still under 60. So to me, he's a project. Josh Rosen is a prospect. He should be a top 5 guy. Sam Darnold, prospect. Now, I think he's better than Tebow, and Tebow won 6 games, won a playoff game. But I do think there's a lot of project here. I mean, nobody's talking about Rosen playing slot, Cam playing slot, Russell Wilson, Andrew Luck.
About Sam Darnold.
Well, the reason why is the Ravens have been in camp since July 11th, the rookie staff. So that's partly why Lamar Jackson's getting all this notoriety. And plus, he's playing wide receiver, which he refused to showcase at all. Look, he's such an offensive talent. They're going to use him other places. Reports are, to your point about Garoppolo motivating Tom Brady, reports are Flacco hasn't looked better in years. His back is healthy. He's moving fine, and this really motivated him. So Lamar Jackson's not going to win the quarterback job out of camp. There's no way unless Flacco gets hurt. And they can't waste his talent. So they're going to put him wide receiver. They'll find wildcat packages for him. They'll find ways to use him, which is what I thought they would always do in year one, whoever drafted him. So this is, the hype to me is kind of where I thought he would be. He's going to play other positions on offense. And then if Flacco struggles, then they'll just transition to a different offense and put Lamar in and get rid of Flacco.
But to your point, the media he is the talk of camp.
He is. I think Jeff just made a good argument defeating my point, though. They're the only ones in camp.
Let's not forget, Jeff, he's polarizing. And that's probably the reason for all this hype. I mean, a lot of people didn't think he could play quarterback in the NFL. That's why he fell in the draft. You know, we know what Darnold, we know Rosen, not as polarizing. They're great prospects. Lamar Jackson's very polarizing. I mean, I think he's going to be a good quarterback, but there's a lot of teams that were just out on him.
Tell me this, though, using the word polarizing. who really is anti-Lamar Jackson?
Well, I would say, the people who said he completed, 59%
I have
of
had
passes?
two scouting directors I trust say, I don't think it's going to work.
Can he win from the pocket?
A lot of NFL people are, I'm not sure it's going to work. There's a lot of that out there. They don't want to be quoted because scouting directors don't want to put their name on stuff. But I think there is. I talked to 2 GMs, multiple scouts. Nobody said, Sam Darnold, I'm not sure. Everybody was like, should be the first quarterback taken. Baker was. Even Baker Mayfield, overwhelmingly, 70% completion rate. It'll work at some level in the NFL, though he's immature. I think with a Lamar, I think if you ask people in the league, they don't put their name on it, it's a 50-50.
Even Cam Newton completed like 68% of passes his senior year in college. If you look at completion percentage last year in college, either your junior year or senior year, the last quarterback, successful NFL quarterback, was Matt Ryan at 59.2%. Even Stafford was 61% his final year. Look at Russell Wilson. He went from 58% at NC State to like 72 at Wisconsin. So you see gradual improvement.
Yeah.
That's what worries me about Lamar. He played in a pro-style offense. He had easy throws to complete. He just didn't do it. And Josh Allen as well. I think Josh Allen's,
I think that's a
I'm
big problem.
100%.
Welcome back, Jason McIntyre, joined now by Fox NBA analyst, our friend Jim Jackson. Let's move to Cleveland, where the Cavs don't have much to look forward to after LeBron James left, with an aging roster of overpaid role players. But they're still doing what they can to salvage the year. Today, handing Kevin Love 4-year extension, $120 million large. Dan Gilbert tweeting, quote, the Cavs franchise proud to extend 5-time All-Star Kevin Love, NBA champ Kevin Love, for 4 additional years. K-Love has been nothing but class since he arrived in 2014. We look forward to this leadership and the exciting years ahead. We grind every day just like Cleveland. Whitlock, smart move there?
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant move. I think that come the trade deadline, this is going to look awesome. That some team can trade for Kevin Love with 3 years left. He won't be some rental. And so I think Cleveland has the best of both worlds. They'll get to see him play for 3 or 4 months. Decide they could stay the course. He could play so well, and who knows where they may finish in the East. It's so depleted. Or he'll be a great trade asset for a team trying to contend.
All right, $30 million a year?
Yeah.
If you're rebuilding, don't you want really movable contracts? That's a lot of money for Kevin Love. In today's space game, he struggles to defend. He's aging. He's had injuries. That's a lot. Who's going to say, I want a $30 million Kevin Love? They almost moved him out of Cleveland 4 times. That was with LeBron elevating him.
The way these contracts are going, I just don't know if a 5-time All-Star that's relatively young, I just don't think that's at $30 million. I think that's...
Now, the cap's going up, right?
Yeah.
But $30 million? Yeah. Is that a tradable contract?
Well, it just depends, too, because you think about the assets they probably could get. Let's back up, too, because when LeBron left before this Cleveland team was, you didn't have any players. It was dismantled. Nothing was there. So you got to have something to go into the season with. Colin Sexton is coming in. You sign back Kevin Love. Now, I do agree in regards to 2 things. One, Kevin Love being a little bit older. How do you trade that contract? Who wants to take it on? But Cleveland has to salvage some kind of face for losing LeBron. They have to have something there, some kind of meat to bring some people in to say we're just not tanking and throwing everything in. But I do believe that he'll be used for trade bait a little bit later to try to get younger, some more talent, maybe some draft picks.
I think you nailed it with the Dan Gilbert reaching to do something after losing LeBron. But listen, Colin hit this on the head. This is an unathletic, injury-prone guy who's turning 30 in September. Okay? The stretch 4 who doesn't defend, like, who's going to want him? He's like a good number 2 or number 3, maybe.
I think he's a good 3. A 3.
And what team, too, that's a championship caliber team? Because you think about that's who you're going to trade and get value for. A team that's younger that probably is still trying to figure it out. What values do they have that make sense to bring in an older player like that?
Think about how many of the good players in the league are now forwards. You got to defend LeBron. You got to defend Kawhi. You got to defend Durant. Kevin doesn't defend those guys.
Let's say they're the 4th-place team in the East next year.
Ooh, that's
What the
The
East?
That's pretty good.
Washington, Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Let's
How
say they're
about
the
5?
6th. Let's say they're the 6th.
Let's say
they're the
6.
6th
Let's say
place
they
team.
6.
Okay.
How would they get there? What numbers would Kevin Love be putting up with no LeBron James, this rookie Colin
25.
Sexton? He's going to be putting up nice numbers.
But that's not fact. That is you saying they'll be a 6 seed. I don't think they'll make the playoffs. You're saying he's averaging 25. I think those days are
Isn't it
done.
Minnesota all over again?
Why?
Big number.
Why won't he put up
not the
numbers?
same
You
player.
know why? Because in Minnesota, you got to think about it, he played on the post a lot more. Kevin Love got a lot of touches inside. He was the main factor. He's gone away from that. Keep in mind, when
can't go back?
No, but here's the thing. When you've gone away from that for so long, like Chris Bosh, you get uncomfortable in that position because you haven't been down there. Think about when they post him up. He has to think about his move, not to say that he can't be effective, but he won't be the Kevin Love that we saw in Minnesota.
It's not a back-to-the-basket league anymore. Like, he's a shooter.
And he needs somebody to create for him right now.
And he's also been injured the last couple years.
I just think he's going to put up numbers, and people come February and man, look at those numbers Kevin Love put up, and at that price, it won't seem ridiculous to trade for him at the deadline and think I'm going to make a run. I think they put themselves in a good position. All right, to Kawhi Leonard, whose time in San Antonio may be over, but the drama over his split with the team may not be, with Spurs legend David Robinson saying he actually tried to help smooth things over with Kawhi, but the notoriously quiet star wasn't really interested.
He's a hard guy. I mean, he's just quiet. He doesn't, I've reached out to him several times and just never hear anything back from him. I think the whole time he's been here, I've talked to him maybe a handful of times, and I can count on one hand how many words he's really said to me. So he's just a quiet guy, and I think that's made it difficult, I think, for all parties to really understand each other in this process. It's one of the oddest situations I think I've seen since I've been in pro basketball. He's a hard guy to understand. He's a hard guy to read.
David Robinson on Kawhi Leonard, you hear that. Is that a red flag for you as him a potential face of a franchise?
No. I mean, listen, if I'm Toronto, not every movie has to be a franchise. I can just make one great movie. We're going to just have one great year. We upgraded. He's better than DeMar. Let's go have a great year. And then if you don't want to stay, we're sitting there thinking 50-50. If he stays, boy, look at Toronto's history. He'd be the best player they ever had, wouldn't he?
If you're the Clippers, would you not? Would you
Oh,
be
no, that's a great
concerned?
question. The Clippers, what's their history? You take Kawhi Leonard. If you're the Celtics, maybe, with all their pieces.
Right.
If you have Ben Simmons at Embiid, I'm not sure. But you're mentioning Toronto and the Clippers, the Dallas Mavericks. I would take him in a heartbeat.
But here's the thing, too. With Kawhi, we always talked about it internally. They loved Kawhi because he was quiet. He went about his business. He was professional. He didn't create any waves. Now, when you can't communicate with him to keep him to stay because he's upset, now it's hard to deal with him from that. But you
mystery.
But you loved when he was a mystery
That's
before.
funny.
But now, because he won't communicate with you
The
the way you would.
mystery's been unwrapped now. The dude is a little odd.
No, but he was unhappy. He was unhappy with what happened with the doctors. But if you're Toronto, you have to do each and everything you can do to try to persuade Kawhi that he's the man and he needs to come back after 1 year.
He may be a lot more like guys in the 70s, 80s, and 90s who didn't want to be Instagram stars.
Just
he may
quiet.
seem odd because he's just normal. He doesn't want to go to clubs every night.
I don't know, but you can't have a conversation with David Robinson.
Well, no, listen, what entails becoming the face of the franchise? You got to give a lot of interviews, right? Yeah. You got to be on social media. As much as we bash social media, you got to be on there. And you got to be like that personality in the locker room. Yeah. This isn't Kawhi Leonard, but I got to agree with these guys. I don't think it matters. You got a star who's going to put up 25 and 5 and
play great defense.
Yeah. Like, I don't care if he doesn't talk to anybody.
Listen, there's not. I mean, you get past the 7th pick in the NBA draft, you start running out of players. There's not a lot of Kawhi Leonards on the market.
I get it. The only thing where I'm a little bit worried about is he got to play in Pop's system.
Right.
Where I think it fit his personality, and they put a system together that exploited his skills. Wherever he goes from here on out, unless it's Brad Stevens, he's not going to be playing for as good a coach as Greg Popovich. And so when you take that system away and you add the quirkiness and his lack of communication, that's, to me, a potential issue. Because, and so Pop figured out, hey, here, we know how to use him, we're going to put him, blah, blah. It wasn't because they sat down and talked it out. It's just like, Pop's a genius. He works that way in basketball. I just don't know if Kawhi, you just move him and set him in any city and think it's just going to work.
But I'll say this. Let me defend him. Charles Barkley was a riot from day one. Hated to practice. Didn't play a ton of defense. I love Charles. We do because he gives us content. But Charles is an outlier. Most athletes would rather not do a ton of interviews. I mean, most athletes aren't Steve Nash. They want to get into documentaries and they want to...
No. But my point is about communicating with the coach. Again, I think Pop was able to pull something off without a lot of communication with Kawhi because Pop's just that smart and that good. I think most coaches actually need to communicate with their athletes in order to figure it out.
I believe that too, and I think Kawhi's situation was so great because expectations were low coming out of college. He played with Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker, so he was able to learn. They were able to bring him along slowly. To your point, what's the next system going to look like that's really going to make him comfortable and look good? We don't know if he's a freestyle player that can go out and really go get his points and carry a team. We don't know that yet. So it's going to be very interesting in Toronto, one, how you surround Kawhi, but what position you put him in for his skill set. Because I still think the best two-way player in the league, but is he the kind of guy that's going to get me 55, 60 wins in the playoff series, be able to go 7-game series and get me those key wins that we need on the road? Just don't know yet.
Rookie head coach?
Exactly.
And a bunch of players that won't be nearly as experienced as Parker, Ginobili, and all that. And he doesn't communicate. This could be very interesting.
Welcome back. Sean Merriman back, joined now by Fox NFL analyst Greg Jennings. Let's move to Oakland, where today John Gruden kicked off his first training camp since returning to the sidelines, but had to do it without their best defensive player, probably their best player, Khalil Mack, holding out for a contract extension. In fact, Adam Schefter reports Gruden and Mack have yet to actually speak since John took the Raiders' job in January. Whitlock, big deal to you?
I'm going to say no at the moment just because I just think it's a negotiating ploy by Khalil Mack. I think the reports are Gruden has reached out. He just hasn't gotten a response back from Khalil Mack. I just think Khalil Mack is playing hardball. And so right now I'm just going to call it a standard negotiating standoff. I'm not going to read more into it that there is some kind of unrecoverable disconnect between Gruden and Khalil Mack.
There's also a report, though, they're miles apart. Miles apart. So I don't want to put it all on Khalil Mack. He's the best player defensively. He and Von Miller, Aaron Donald are the three best defensive players maybe in the league. Doesn't it seem weird if you took over a company, 2 months in, I hadn't talked to my best employee? I mean, wouldn't you like Uber to his house, knock on doors?
Yeah.
Something. I mean, something?
No, yeah, he should be showing up at his doorstep. You know, not just a text and, hey, how you doing? Can we talk? No. When can we talk? You fly out there, or you come and see him. And this just shows the fact that a lot of things have been said about John Gruden over the years with him, players, and some players not being able to trust him. He's the best hype man, best hype coach that ever came through the NFL, ever. He can get the whole team hyped up and riled and on the same page for his own benefit. But if you don't reach out to the best defensive player in the National Football League, there's a problem. And I know you're an offensive coach. You're more worried about Derek Carr. You're more worried about the wide receivers in the offensive front. But Khalil Mack is a once-in-a-lifetime player. You got to fix that. And if you don't fix that, that shows me what kind of coach, what kind of person you are. Because he has enough power. He signed that big deal so he can make some things happen. And if they're that far apart, you should be the one that's saying, we can't make it happen right now. We can't structure something, but we want you here. And if he hasn't done that yet, that's a problem.
Yeah, that's my problem, and that's what I'm going with. I don't know what has transpired as far as communications between John Gruden and Khalil Mack, but I don't need you to come to my doorstep. I don't expect him to go to the extreme, but at least let it be known that I have reached out to Khalil Mack. I have let him know how important he is to this team. He has a C on his chest for a reason. Forget the potential of NFL Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Like, he is your captain, a team captain, a leader on that team, on that defense. And the reports are there's been no relationship, there's been no communication. That's just a bad look as a head coach coming in with this buzz from the fans, the media, the expectations, all of that, and you haven't communicated to your best player. I have a problem with that.
Communication's a two-way street now, though.
It is, but I guarantee Derek Carr didn't have to reach out.
By the way, listen, 2 of their first 3 picks were offensive players. They really needed defensive help. So, you know, I don't think it's cryptic. I mean, Reggie McKenzie wanted to help the defense. Gruden's like, no, I want offense. You're kind of sending a message that defense is second class. You got to hold a Derek Carr.
Let's be clear, though, here. John Gruden, in his original stint with the Raiders, built a Super Bowl contending team. As soon as they went to the Super Bowl after he left. He goes to Tampa Bay, and with a great defense and Brad Johnson at quarterback, he won a Super Bowl. He's been successful everywhere he's been. Some of the hype about him has been the golden touch he seems to have. It's not all just coming out of his mouth, and he is full of bluster and says some things to hype himself, there's no question. But he has produced results, and he has produced great results with defensive players. I don't think he's got amnesia. I think he knows you got to have the Derek Brooks, the Warren Sapps, the John Lynches to have success. I think he's got to know he needs Khalil Mack.
Well, of course you need it. There's 32 teams in the league that needs Khalil Mack. The problem is that you have to go beyond what you would do as a head coach. You have the power. You're going to be here for a long time. You can make things happen. You can find a way to get in front of Khalil Mack or Khalil Mack to get in front of you, however that works. If you haven't even made communication to me, it sounds like, okay, we're going to go out the offense side of the ball. I'm going to make myself and this offense look good, and whatever happens on the defense side of the ball happens. That's how I'm looking at it. If you don't reach out to me or find a way, I just don't see Khalil Mack playing hardball with the head coach. Maybe with the organization, but not playing hardball with John Gruden.
My memory is that they tried to go basically all offense for a couple of years with Derek Carr, and the defense kept letting them down. I can't believe Gruden is this stupid that he's watched the Raiders with Derek Carr score points and not be able to.
I don't think it's stupid. I think his brand is offense. And if John fails, he doesn't want to also crush his brand. John wants to build by the way, Pete Carroll at both USC and Seattle, the offensive line's gone into the tank. Why? Because Pete's brand is defense. He's always going to take care of the defense so it looks good for his brand.
See, I buy that because when you're offensive or defensive-minded coach, head coach at that, you tend to, and you know this, you can speak to this, you tend to stay on one side of the ball and make sure that your side of the ball isn't the reason why we're not successful.
Thank you.
That's important to offensive and defensive-minded coaches.
I saw it with Dick Vermeil when he basically got run out of St. Louis from Mike Martz. He came over to Kansas City, and he built an offense because he wanted to prove he could do it with Mike Martz. I just don't see this with John Gruden because as much as he's known for offense, his brand is really about winning.
Yes, I agree.
It's winning. That's what I remember about him in his 2 previous stints.
I think
not great offense.
Your memory is fuzzy. His last 6 years in Tampa, 3 of the 6 losing seasons, the 2 of the winning seasons were 9 and 7. It wasn't a great division. He left, had alienated a lot of people. He'd never developed the next great quarterback, and he had a losing record. That's the reality of it. He took Tony Dungy's blueprint and roster, took the momentum, played a team that he knew their plays. I think his brand is bigger than reality.
All right, welcome back. DeMarco Murray and Sean Merriman are back. Let's move to Dallas, where Jerry Jones took a break from stirring the national anthem pot yesterday to actually talk some football, fielding a question about Jason Garrett that seems to pop up around this time every year.
Jerry, it's been a few years since we've asked you the proverbial hot seat question, and maybe you kind of already answered it, but is this a playoffs or bust year for Jason?
No. That's the best answer I can give and the fairest.
All right, Cowherd, should Garrett be on the hot seat?
No. I think there's about a third of the NFL that doesn't even feel stable. There's about 50% of the NBA that doesn't feel stable. Stability is a big thing for free agents. Jason Garrett, I don't think anybody thinks he's awful, but they don't maybe think he's Belichick or Peyton, but the Cowboys, to me, feel stable. They got the offensive line. They have young pass rushers. I like their defensive coordinator. They got a head coach. They have their franchise quarterback. They have their left tackle. That's more than 90% of this league. They don't have Philadelphia's roster, but Dallas is always a little bit of a circus. They don't feel like a circus to me.
Everything you described could be credited to Jerry Jones. He's basically the general manager, controls the personnel on the roster. Jason Garrett coaches them up. And And I don't, the way the question was framed, is it playoffs or bust? I don't think Jerry has any choice but to say no, because who knows? Dak Prescott gets hurt. Ezekiel Elliott gets hurt. Who knows what could happen that could stop them from making it to the playoffs? I believe Jason Garrett is on the hot seat, but Jerry's going to let things play out. There's no reason to say beforehand, yeah, playoffs or bust, or he's out of here. That doesn't help your team. That doesn't create stability, confidence in your coach headed into the season. Look, before Wade Phillips got dumped, Jerry said he doesn't fire coaches at midseason. He fired Wade Phillips at midseason. Jerry, answered the question to the best of his ability, was completely honest. And Jason Garrett's on a hot seat, though.
I don't think he is. I agree with you. I think stability is a huge factor when you look at Jason Garrett's situation. And his 8th year is going next year. He's had one losing season. 2 years ago, he was a coach of the year in the NFL. He's had one playoff win. Is the only mystery, a big mystery, because you've had so many great players. I think he's handled being the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys extremely well. Being a player is hard, but I can't imagine being the head coach. And you look at situations off the field, Dez Bryant, Ezekiel Elliott, he's handled those so well. And we had a death my first 4 years, and he handled that well. He brought us together as a team. He's a great motivator, great coach, and he gets a bad rep from times. Romo was there. Jason Witten was there, Alphas. So now this is his team. The big name guys, they're not there anymore. So this is his year. Take control of the team and run the team the right way.
I think publicly he's not on the hot seat. But Jerry Jones has always done it. He's done that with coaches, like you said, my former coach Wade Phillips. He's done that with players. When Dez Bryant or anybody came out and they had any kind of big outbursts or any legal troubles, he's always back to players. And to me, that's kind of always been the biggest problem with them. It's people feel secure, right? He comes out and backs people that probably shouldn't be backed. He comes out and support people that probably shouldn't be supported. And when you do that, you kind of, make a false sense of hope in that locker room, a false sense of stability, like I'm going to be there in the future. I don't have to worry about anything. But I think behind closed doors, you think Jason Garrett doesn't know that what happened with Wade Phillips?
I see what you're saying as far as, but I think from when I was there 4 years ago, when he took the backs of our players, it just made the unit so much more cohesive. We're going to go fight for that guy. He loves the players. He's going to fight. He's going to fight. Nail the players for us.
Marco, you said something interesting beforehand that just struck me as funny. 8 years, and the only problem is there's one playoff victory, and that to me is like saying, I got a quarterback, but the only problem is he's missing both arms.
Well, you look at it. My first 4 years, Romo was hurt 2 seasons, so he didn't have his best quarterback. Last year, his best weapon on offense, Ezekiel Elliott, was away for 10 games. He hasn't had the personnel. There's been injuries that happened to your starting quarterback. Kyle Orton came in 4 years ago. We're trying to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Chip Kelly's second year. He beats us to go to the playoffs. So we didn't have our starting quarterback.
Lucky for Philadelphia, Carson Wentz never went down. I mean, all hell would have broken loose.
All right. Let's move to Mike Tomlin, who took some heat last week from one of his former stars, James Harrison, on this network. Undisputed that Bill Belichick is a better coach. Tomlin needs to be more disciplined. Yesterday, Tomlin was asked what he thought about the criticism and basically said, not much.
He has an opinion. He's entitled to it. He doesn't play for us right now, man. I'm focused on 2018, man. That soap opera stuff, I'll let you guys, play that game.
Whitlock, do you think Harrison's damage, criticism of Tomlin all last week on this network, does it hurt Mike's reputation?
I think it hurts his reputation, but I also think it's going to help his motivation. And I think that's more important right now. I think the Pittsburgh organization is so supportive of its head coaches that it can create some complacency and people don't have to work on their problems. And so I think James Harrison has actually done Tomlin a favor. I like Mike Tomlin when motivated and backed into a corner. I think Terry Bradshaw criticized him a couple years ago. Now James Harrison. I think we're going to see the best Mike Tomlin this year.
I think people have made their decision on Tomlin, and they're not moving off it. It's almost political. Like, when's the last time you had a conversation with somebody that was diametrically opposed to you politically? An hour later, you're like, oh, I should totally change their mind. Mike Tomlin's reputation is established. Some people are into his highly emotional style. Went out in the field like he was going to trip a guy. Like, that was a moment for me. I'm like, whoa, I'm out on this. Like, I think he's fine. I think he gets exposed against Belichick. I think his teams are too emotional. They're not tight. They're not buttoned up. That's my opinion. But the people who like him, I'm not moving them off their opinion. They like the emotion stuff. That's his brand. Like if Belichick's Mr. Covert Secret, Tomlin's Mr. I'd run through a wall for Mike Tomlin. And a lot of people like that brand.
I think Mike Tomlin's a great coach, but this is not the first time we've heard that about them being unorganized or not disciplined over there. We also need to remember who it's coming from. You know, James Harrison didn't leave there on his own terms. He didn't leave there in a happy place. He's talking about a team that, you know, he left and went to their arch rival just despite them. So, you know, we're hearing from somebody that's a little bit disgruntled, that felt like he was done wrong by the organization. And then you went to the most strictest coach in all of football, the most strictest organization. So, of course, if you're comparing the two, yeah, they might be a little bit more relaxed or unorganized there with the Steelers than they are with the Patriots. But look who's talking. Look who it's coming from. And I think that's what we need to pay attention to more.
When you think about the Pittsburgh Steelers, New England Patriots, you never think they have these issues going on in-house. Last year, the story about Belichick and Brady, we were all like, wow, we couldn't believe it. Now with Tomlin and hearing what James Harrison said, I mean, you have to believe it, but you also have to not give in to it, as Sean mentioned. He is a little disgruntled. He just left there on a bad situation, but having friends that play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm hearing that there's some issues that is going on in the locker room. So James Harrison may have a point there.
I think he's validating those of us who think Tomlin's fine but can be exposed. You've said that before. I don't think he's a bad coach.
I think Mike Tomlin is capable of improvement, but DeMarco, I would like for you, if you can, put a little more meat on your bone, on those bones, in terms of you've heard from guys in Pittsburgh that you think there are issues within that locker room?
I've heard guys say that it's not all peaches and cream as if we see it as, just like the New England situation. We all thought it was Bill Belichick running, Bill Belichick and Brady coexisting well, but you hear these stories and you really don't know because you don't see it. Now there's stories starting to come out from a former player who had a long, great career there, who's saying these things.
By the way, the two coaches in the league that tend to be pro-player and pro-emotion are Pete Carroll and Tomlin. We saw Pete's team unravel a little bit next year. Tomlin and Pete Carroll are very much the player's coach, and they like their players to be loud and sometimes to the fault of both systems.
I'm going to say, I'm not sure that Tomlin likes his players to be loud. I think that Tomlin doesn't know how to get a very difficult locker room under his control. Big Ben, to me, can be immature and has been immature. Antonio Brown is one of the biggest personalities in football. Le'Veon Bell has been upset about his contract for 2 or 3 years now. That's a lot. You had James Harrison in that locker room. That's a lot to deal with. And that's, again, why I'll go back to, I think James Harrison has done Tomlin a favor. The organization is so patient with their head coaches. I don't think there's been enough pressure on Mike Tomlin. I like bacon. You got to turn some fire on to cook it, and that's what I think Mike Tomlin needs. He needs a fire lit under his ass, and James Harrison may have just done it.
Welcome back. Joined now by NBA insider Chris Mannix. We don't get Chris much, so we're not letting him leave the room when he show's over. And the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre, J-Mac. Let's move to Vegas, where an AAU game featuring LeBron James' son was just canceled amid security concerns after an unruly crowd showed up to get a glimpse of the king. The new Lakers star also announced today that his talk show, The Shop, will debut on HBO next month and released a clip addressing the pressure his kids feel to follow in his footsteps.
What do you say to your kid, though, like living up to you being their dad, and they're playing the same sport that you played better than anyone else in the world has ever played it? How do you give them a peace of mind that they don't have to be you?
I still regret giving my 14-year-old my name because of that.
Right.
Like, when I was younger, obviously, didn't have a dad. So my whole thing was like, whenever I have a kid, not only is he going to be a junior, I'm going to do everything that this man didn't do.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They're going to experience things that I didn't experience. The only thing I can do is give them the blueprint, and it's up to them to take their own course whenever that time happens.
All right, Whitlock, we got the gym story, a little bit of a circus around LeBron. Is it too out of hand for you?
too out of hand is I don't know if I want to comment on that because I'm not sure how I feel. But what I think I'm looking at is LeBron James is actually LeVar Ball. And I'm not saying that to disparage anybody. I think it's kind of an accidental thing. But he's like living the life LeVar Ball dreamed of. LeBron actually has the kid who seems like in 8th grade is the phenom that's going to be the next thing. LeVar thought it was going to be LaMelo. LeBron signed the deal with HBO. He's not doing a Facebook show. It's HBO where he gets to talk about his family and be around a bunch of celebrities. The LeVar Ball circus being run well by LeBron James, and it just kind of makes me think how LeBron living under that 24/7 microscope out here in LA and just diving deeper into celebrityhood, how is that going to play out for him and his entire family is an interesting question.
Well, I mean, I look at him like Ronaldo. Like LeVar Ball is seeking attention. Ronaldo and the royal family just draw attention. Like, I don't think doing a barbershop show, everybody in LA's got a show. LeVar Ball is doing stunts.
No, I agree. This is like the high-class version of it. But that spotlight, his son just tried to play an AAU game and they couldn't do it because there's a circus around. There's such celebrities.
Well, but if Beyonce went to a recital and she had her daughter there, they'd rush the stage. I think what's happened is celebrity has become bigger in America. Now the social media is just amplified celebrity. Everybody's a celebrity.
I get it, but you just compared LeBron to Beyonce.
Yeah.
And that's new for athletes, I think.
Yes.
And that's what's different. This is the space LeVar wanted to live in that LeBron is actually living in.
I think in that context, you're right that LeVar and LeBron they're comparable orbits, so to speak. However, the incident that happened, LeVar would revel in that. LeVar would enjoy that because any publicity is good publicity for the big baller brand, and he would love to be a part of that experience. Whereas I guarantee you, LeBron, in the hours afterwards, was bitterly disappointed that happened, that his kid couldn't play, that he couldn't watch his kid play. That's the biggest difference for me between those two men.
I mean, guys, when you look at the situation with his 8th grade kid, and he's doing a crossover on a guy, and it gets 1.6 million views on Instagram, and LeBron's son trying to dunk gets 3.6 million views on YouTube, okay? He's in 8th grade. What's going to happen in 9th grade? If you think this is not a problem, it's only going to get significantly worse. They're going to have to start to play his games at bigger venues. There is an insatiable appetite for all things LeBron. You open your show with LeBron for like a month straight, right? Yeah. We do a post on the Big Lead about LeBron, automatic clicks. His son is next. It's going to start 8th grade, 9th grade.
I would worry about it if I didn't trust LeBron. But I know, look at LeBron's best friends. They're all good dudes. I mean, again, there's a lot of athletes. Johnny Manziel couldn't handle a week in the NFL. LeBron's gone 15 years as the most talked about player. We don't have an incident.
Colin, only thing I would say is LeBron is not Superman. He's not Jesus. All men fall. All women fall. And this situation, this type of attention is unusual for human beings. And I don't think LeBron is the most unique human being to ever hit the planet. Hollywood swallows people up. And again, I think Chris's point is right. LeBron's mentality is completely different than LeVar's. But again, he's swimming in that orbit, and that's the most difficult swim I think there is in the world. And I have some sympathy for his kids and LeBron. Hope that he knows what he's taking on by coming out here to LA and wanting to orbit in that celebrity world all the time. It's dangerous.
The mistake is, though, I get where he's saying where the mistake is naming his kid after him there because it puts an incredible amount of undue pressure on him. There's a reason, one of the reasons Michael Jordan's kids weren't revered like Michael Jordan early on. It was Jeffrey and it was Marcus. If they were named Michael Jr., might have even more pressure on him back then.
Hello and welcome. We're joined now by Fox golf analyst Holly Saunders and Super Bowl champion and resident golf nut Greg Jennings. Let's start with Tiger Woods, who briefly looked like the Tiger of old Sunday, storming up the leaderboard at Carnoustie and actually taking a one-shot lead at the turn before faltering on the back nine and finishing tied for 6, 3 shots back of Francisco Molinari. Even still, Tiger tried to stay positive after his round.
I know I need to try and keep it in perspective because at the beginning of the year, you would have said you were playing the Open Championship. I would have said, I'd be very lucky to do that. It's going to sting for a little bit here. But given where I was to where I'm at now, blessed.
All right, Cowherd, did Tiger blow his best chance at winning another major?
No, I think he has a chance to win a tournament in the next 4 or 5 years. So do 50 guys. I think he has a chance to win a major in the next 4 or 5 years. I mean, we see a new golfer wins a major every year. So I think he's a good golfer now. I don't get the Tiger's back. No, if Michael Jordan came back as Rudy Gay, he wouldn't be Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan still scored 40 the last time I saw him. If LeBron left and came back and was Victor Oladipo, LeBron wouldn't be back. He'd be Victor Oladipo, who's a good player, not a superstar. Tiger's a good golfer, and that's what he's going to be for the next 4 to 5 years, a good golfer capable of winning a nice tournament.
I think that he blew maybe his last chance at winning a major.
Wow.
And I say that he's 42 years old. He had the lead on the 11th tee on Sunday. He had the lead. Those opportunities are so rare. And not only did he have the lead, he then got cute and blew the lead with this flop shot on 11. The guy should have played a bump and run and had a 15-footer for par and a probable bogey. Instead, he got cute here, and this is ego, and this is where he's kicking himself. I'm not trying to beat up Tiger, but the hole before on 10, coming out of a pot bunker, he made an amazing shot. And that got his ego kicked in, and I can do it again.
I mean, he's feeling good. That's what you do when you're feeling good, swinging the club.
Not when you've been waiting 10 years.
You don't think in the next 3 years there'll be another PGA?
He's 42 years old, Tiger.
Tom
Jason,
Watson.
what would you have told him to do? If you were his caddy, what would you have told him
He would
to
have
do
played.
next?
He should have played bump and run. He should have been conservative. He had the lead. Take your medicine. Take your bogey and keep going. That double bogey led to another bogey on the next hole. And again, at 42, you just can't do this. These opportunities are so rare. And Tim Brando said on this show a month ago during the U.S. Open and said, if Tiger's going to win another major, it'll probably be at an Open. It'll be a links course, no water, no trees. Tiger just blew his best chance.
I agree with you. I think he did blow his best chance to date. I think that he could potentially win again, but age is against him. His timetable of winning is what's closing. And these young players that are up and coming, forget up and coming, they are here. And they are here to stay. This isn't the same old golf that we saw Tiger dominating and playing when he was on top with the lead every single tournament, playing out front. It's a different style of playing. Now, getting to the way he's playing, I enjoyed what I saw. I don't like his mentality. I don't like the approach of, and when we listen to the soundbite, the only thing that stood out to me was, this is gonna sting a little bit. I'm accustomed to hearing more of that from Tiger. He's more happy of just being where he is and where he's at. That's what I don't like. That's what a great competitor, you don't hear that coming out of LeBron's.
To the people you know in golf, do they think this is it?
Not at all. And what you're saying is true. I think that his mentality now is that he's grateful to be out there. I talked to Peter Jacobson, who was part of the NBC coverage this entire week. He said that he is very polite. He's interacting with people more. He does like having the second chance. He's more grateful. But I believe he has the greatest mind in golf. I don't think his swing is the best anymore, but I think he knows that. I don't think, Greg, in any way that he's saying, it stings a little bit, I'm a little upset about it. I think he's really upset about it. But I think he knows. We saw some of those shots he pulled off yesterday. I know he's 42 years old, but did his body look like that? Some of the shots we saw him hit yesterday were Tiger-esque. I think he has the greatest mind in golf. He said, I'm going to build his way into the lead, is what he said. I'm going to build my way into the lead. We're used to seeing, we're not used to hearing him say that.
Tom Watson almost won a British at 57.
I get it, Colin.
And he's not in that kind of shape.
For the appearance, this guy's got a fused back. He's had all kinds of health issues. It can come back at any time. He's on borrowed time right now. Father Time is undefeated, and he's had all kinds of health issues. But, Holly, my point, I do believe Tiger's got a great mind for golf. But he outsmarted himself. Francisco Molinari actually played the game that Tiger should have played. All he had to do was beat the guy in his group, and the guy in his group played a smarter game of golf for 18 holes than Tiger Woods, and that's why Tiger lost.
But he wasn't quite certain. What is Jordan Spieth doing in front of me? That's the hard thing about golf. You're playing against the person, yes, in your group, but you don't know what's happening in front of you. You hear those cheers. Maybe he heard some cheers, and he thought, hey, I need to be super aggressive on this back nine, and that's what he did. It didn't work out then, but Tiger knows. Again, he doesn't have the best swing right now, but he knows how to pick a golf course apart. Tiger is incredibly
By the way, when
bright.
Tiger was great, I can remember watching years ago, they were showing, when Tiger was really in his prime, he would come out of his shoes. Like, you'd never show a young kid, here's how to golf.
Right.
Tiger was not the perfect golf. Fred Couples had the better swing. There was better pacing. Tiger came out of his shoes. He was overly aggressive. I could argue that's his DNA. He's kind of an aggressive golfer.
Get it. But at 42, you can't be. Johnny Miller was. Their coverage yesterday was brilliant because Johnny Miller said everything that I'm saying, but he said it much more politely. He's on the 11th. He was like, golf seduces you into doing dumb things. And that's what Tiger did. He did something stupid.
Totally.
Without question.
Totally.
But that doesn't make him, that's every golfer.
But
Every
again,
golfer.
When you're 42 and you've got the lead on the back nine of a major and you're Tiger Woods, you can't do dumb things.
But you still believe I can make this shot. Short side, you don't have
By the
room.
way, Kobe
you
Bryant,
gotta flop
60
it.
points last game. Tiger can make that shot. Are we reacting to the result?
Exactly.
Right.
That's what we're doing.
Johnny Miller was reacting in real time. He's played in real. He knows exactly what golfers are thinking. And again, there's a way you look. Kobe, when he got the 60 at age 38 or whatever he was, that's a whole different mentality. He played a different game at 38 than he did at 24, 25, 26. Tiger's gonna have to play a different game at 42. And I'm just yesterday, he blew what I don't know if we'll ever see him again in a major. 8 holes to go, he's got the lead, and then a double bogey and
the lead
a bogey.
for 5 minutes. Tiger's now played 27 majors since his last win. He's battled personal issues, surgeries, failed comebacks, even a DUI arrest. Yesterday, his kids were there to see him compete at a major, and afterwards, Tiger was asked what he told them about coming up just short.
I told him I tried, and I said, hopefully you're proud of your pops for trying as hard as I did, and they gave me some. It was pretty emotional because they gave me some pretty significant hugs there and squeezed, and I know that they know how much this championship means to me and how much it feels good to be back playing again. And to me, it's just so special to have them aware, because I've won a lot of golf tournaments, in my career, but they don't remember any of them. And so for them to understand, what I was doing, early in my career, and only thing they've seen are my struggles and the pain I was going through.
All right, Whitlock, these comments make you feel bad for Tiger.
I don't think they make me feel bad. I think it's a window into what's driving Tiger. And he has it made up in his mind that he's going to share a special moment with his kids, that this is what Daddy's career was about. You guys didn't get to experience it when it was going well. Here's what it's about when it is going well. In his mind, it's going to be the most beautiful and gratifying experience to share a victory, hopefully a major, with his children. I think that might be driving him a little bit more than catching Jack Nicklaus at this point. If he can just have this moment he can share with his kids, I think it's very important to him.
Yeah, I think a lot of his issues are self-inflicted, so I don't feel bad for him. I mean, he broke the family up. Yes, I don't feel. I mean, again, he's got a pile and stacks of money. That mansion in Jupiter, Florida, with 3 swimming pools. I'm sure. I don't feel bad for kids or Tiger. His wounds are self-inflicted, and so
Even his health wounds are self-inflicted.
He sounds like a dad. I mean, I think his reaction is what a dad's. I'm a dad. You're a dad. It's a reaction like, I really want to do something for my kids to see dad succeed. But that's a common message in America. You want to have a great moment so your kids can see it. I'm not sure if it's bigger for the kids or you.
I think it's big for Tiger. I think it's bigger for him than it is for the kids.
So you're saying his personal comeback is bigger than his professional comeback right now, Jason, is what you're leaning on?
Without question. Okay. I think he knows what he did to his family, and any gift he can give his kid, and I'm sure he's given them all the ones financial that you can do, but if they could have some because life is about making memories. Right. And if he could make some incredible memory with his kids on a golf course at a major, that I don't think he can think of anything better he can give them.
Right, like as Colin mentioned, you know, his kids are 11 and 9 now, and they remember him as divorced dad, arrested dad. 2 years ago, he was laying down. He has a little small 9-hole course at his house in Jupiter, Florida. He was laying down in a bunker, and he had to ask Sam, his 11-year-old girl, to go get help because his back hurt so badly. He was laying down and couldn't get up. That's how his kids remember him. So he's 42 years old. He's an alpha male. You guys have kids. You know exactly what he's saying. The first time I ever met Shannon Sharpe, I'll bring this story up, he told me, I asked him about his kids, and he said, yeah, I was young enough when I had them that they remember Daddy do what he do. So, you know, that's important to men. I really think that it's important to Tiger. That's what's driving him.
It is the supreme importance. I don't feel bad for him, but I can empathize with him because my kids are old enough, my older kids, my Amaya 11 and Aaliyah's 9, they were there when I won the Super Bowl. Right. They can sort of remember. My oldest can remember, but my son, my namesake, who's 5, he's the youngest of my 4. I remember when I went to Minnesota. He had just been born in Green Bay, and I had that transition, and I just remember wanting to be that player with that level of success with my teammates, with the team that I had in Green Bay. And I remember my oldest daughter saying, Daddy, you guys always lose now. That stuck with me because I was thinking she experienced the pinnacle. She experienced the Super Bowl, the confetti. My son, however, yeah, Daddy played good, but we always lost. So in his mind, he doesn't really have the highlight reel. We've had to watch Daddy's greatness versus him being able to witness it in person. That means so much more to a dad, to an athlete, than anything. Having your children experience it versus you having to show them footage.
What did your kids say when you became a Dolphin?
We better get some good vacations out of this, is what they said. But I'll say this about Tiger and all athletes, or just any professional person. If you're constantly going through struggles on your career, that shows up at home in terms of you're not, there's some moments, some hours where you're not happy, your kids can see it, you're depressed, and I'm sure he would love, anybody would love to be going through the pinnacle of their career when they're happier and they're happier at home and their kids can enjoy that. You know, I'm glad Tiger has something driving him other than the pursuit of Jack Nicklaus, because he's got no shot at Jack Nicklaus after what he did yesterday.
Tom Brady, who still looks pretty accurate at 40, putting right in the money from his golf cart. That's Wes Welker on that golf cart, by the way. It's not the only Brady bomb from the weekend. The Boston Herald reports the quarterback, quote, had a hand in getting Josh McDaniels to return as a Patriots coordinator, and that Belichick's irritated about it. Whitlock, should Belichick be bothered by this?
I disagree. Yeah, I don't think he should be. I don't get it at all. You need consistency and continuity. Right. And Tom Brady helped them retain their offensive coordinator. That, to me, should make life easier on Belichick. I'm not sure why he would be bothered by this.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me the great actors in Hollywood use the same director, the same lighting people, the same casting people. Once you're great, the great thing about that is you get a little power, a little leverage, and a lot of times you can choose who you can work with. I like this quarterback coach. I like this. That's why when Aaron Rodgers comes out and said, could you give me a heads up that you just dismissed my quarterback coach, I defend Aaron Rodgers. Aaron's earned the right to say, my quarterback coach, I really like him. I'm better. So if I'm Belichick, all I care about with Brady is, are you committed to winning?
Right.
If the answer is yes, I don't. McDaniel's a great coach.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Tom Brady going behind Belichick's back or any of that, simply because, and if I'm Belichick, I wouldn't either, because this is the one constant, you know, of a relationship that I can get to him by way of Josh McDaniels, because you know, we all know, their relationship has changed. That has been altered because of what transpired this past Super Bowl. So if I'm Bill Belichick, let this one go. We have the same goal, which is winning. Everything else doesn't matter.
Belichick seems to be irritated by a lot lately. And for McDaniels is a vital piece to that offense and that team. And Brady wants him there. He's experienced not having him for a few years when he left to go to Denver, and he had Bill O'Brien. Brady just wants that comfort level. Why Belichick is irritated is beyond me, but he seems to be in his feelings now about everything that Brady is doing, Kraft's doing. I think he feels like Brady has a little more say-so in years past, and he doesn't like it, and so it's rubbing him the wrong way.
I'm going to defend Belichick, just play devil's advocate the other side. What if part of Belichick's leadership philosophy has been, there's good to have change on my coaching staff, new voices. And I don't want, because again, there have been a lot of his coaches go off and get other jobs. Maybe he sees that as part of the process of keeping things fresh and on edge there. And maybe it was, in Belichick's mind, it was time for McDaniels to move on again.
When it came out that Josh McDaniels was saying, the narrative was, Bill brought him into the office. I'm going to teach you how to be a head coach. I'm going to give you all these secrets. Where'd all that go now? Is that not true?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I wonder the same thing as well that ran through my mind as I thought the narrative was Belichick wanted to, but because there's been so many rumors and speculation about tension between these two,
soap opera.
Well, I mean,
you don't know what to believe.
There's never a right time to do the wrong thing. Josh McDaniels is better than anybody that would replace him. They don't have anybody on that staff better than Josh McDaniels. And there's not an OC that Tom trusts more than Josh McDaniels. So if Belichick's bothered by it, to your point, it's personal. Because you can't tell me that in the NFL, Josh leaves, the next guy comes in, and Tom's like, I'm even more comfortable. I even have a better line of communication. I watched that Tom versus time thing. He's like literally talking to him about Bengal preseason games in June. This feels like, to your point, this has gotten a little personal. Welcome back. Greg Jennings and TJ Hushmanzada are back. Let's move to the National Football League, where the controversy over the anthem back in full force. The league's already put the new anthem policy on hold while they hash things out with the Players Association. And now reportedly, a high-level NFL employee says, quote, there's no end game for the anthem issue. Whitlock, you expect this to be resolved before the season starts?
No, we're 2 years into this. And I think what he means by no end in sight, there's no leadership in sight from the league or the NFL Players Association. And that's what he's saying, that he hasn't heard any suggestions of a good idea that could put this thing to bed. The Players Association seems so bound and determined that the national anthem that's the players' only platform to make a statement, and they want to protect that. And the NFL and Roger Goodell don't seem to be willing to draw a line in the sand. And so, I offered up a solution last week that I'm sure is too tough for them. If you protest during the anthem, you don't play that game. The other solution is just don't come out for the national anthem. Just put them back in the locker room and let the national anthem go on without them. I don't think they're tough enough for either one of those solutions.
I don't think it'll end because there's winners and losers, and that's what social media is about now, being on the winning side, the avalanche. And so it's better to be on the avalanche, skiing it, than be overwhelmed by it. So it's a political issue, and with politics on the internet, there's a winner and loser. You have said, since I've known you, that it's rigged. It's rigged to the left. So the left feels like we're going to kneel for social awareness. And the right, or moderates to conservatives feel, business people, pro-NFL people feel, it's not the time or the place. So you're always going to have winners and losers in the internet. This is a winners and losers political story. It's not even football anymore. It's not about football. It's about politics, and it'll last forever. This thing's going to go on forever and ever. And another thing that hurts it is the players feel like the NBA owners. NBA players feel like the owners have our best interests, but they don't get cut. Those are guaranteed contracts. NFL players have always felt like, that guy upstairs, he'd cut me the minute he could. So you don't have this benevolent relationship with NFL players and NFL owners like basketball has.
This is never going to end. The teams coming out for the anthem started because of 9/11. That was my rookie year. And there were times where, to me, the best solution is everybody stays in the locker room when the national anthem's playing, that nobody can protest, because that's happened where no teams are out on the field when the national anthem is being played. What happened was 9/11 happens, the armed forces said, we'll pay the NFL. If everybody comes out, oh, way to make some money, all the players are out on the field.
Yeah.
It's what you said. If the players feel like they've been slighted, they're still going to protest, so to speak. And if Donald Trump doesn't like the rule, he's going to tweet, the owners are going to change something again. So it's winners and losers. Whoever wins, somebody, the other side is going to say, oh, I feel like we lost, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and vice versa. So we'll never end. The only solution that I see is you stay in the locker room while the national anthem is being played, and you come out afterwards.
I honestly, I agree with that. I agree with that. If the guys can stay, but it has to be a collective consensus agreement between players, ownership, and the league office. They have to get together and come to this in unison. And let it be known that this was an agreement, and everybody be in agreement with it, and stay in the locker room, because that's the elephant in the room. The narrative has been shifted to it being the protest being against the national anthem and the flag, and that's not even the case. So let's just remove it altogether. Yeah, you lose some of your platform, if you will, as players, to be able to get that notoriety and that visibility.
Notoriety.
But you eliminate that elephant in the room of, oh, now this can't be said that it's about.
Let me tell you though,
or the
how the players lose in that scenario, and they will, and it's an option that they should consider. Stay in the locker room, and from that day forward, the brand of NFL players part of it will be unpatriotic, seen by the fan base, customer base support, because it's like, oh, the players can no longer come out for the national anthem because too many of them have a problem with the national anthem, have a problem with this country, whatever. That will damage the brand of NFL players moving forward. That will be a repercussion.
I disagree, because if you make that move, yeah, week 1, week 2, week 3, everyone's all over it from the media perspective, and we're talking about it and we're making a big deal about it. But eventually, there will be nothing to talk about. You have no action, no visibility.
If they would have just left it alone, that would have been the end of it, I believe.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
No, I don't, because I think we focus on the president's trolling, but trust me, you only troll people who like to troll back. And so there are players. Again, Jarrell Casey, when he comes, all he's doing is just popping off and trolling, looking for some Twitter retweets and follows and things like that. People are being baited into engaging in this issue, players and President Trump, and it's just a back and back. They're the same group. The people arguing against Trump in the NFL and Trump, they're the same. I wish they would all get together and go play a different game and let everybody else just go play football. All right, welcome back. Time for last call. Let's move to Magic Johnson, who has almost completed his mission of turning the Lakers into the island of misfit toys, adding Michael Beasley to a roster that already includes head cases Lance Stevenson, and Rajon Rondo, and JaVale McGee. Cowherd, will Beasley help the Lakers?
Yeah, he's another one-year deal, veteran player with an edge who has no problem getting into skirmishes with Durant, Curry, Clay, and Draymond. The Lakers are trying to create, with their young players, a roster full of guys willing to go toe-to-toe physically with a soft Warriors dynasty.
The biggest misfit in the NBA just joined the Lakers. I don't get it. And again, I know this is just for this year, but if this thing, the most combustible team in the league, just got more combustible, and if this thing blows up in year 1, everybody thinks there's going to be some magic cure in year 2.
But they're one-year contracts. You can ditch them.
No, I get it. But I'm saying, if it blows up and it's like, oh, man, this LeBron thing in year 1 was a hot mess. Everyone thinks that year 2, oh, it's just going to be easy. Kawhi's going to want to come here. So-and-so's going to. I'm not so sure.
Now, that's an interesting point. If it's so ugly that, you know, Kawhi's in Toronto and it's like, we got a good GM, we got a good coach, we're winning games. That is some. That's a really interesting point.
The narrative on LeBron James
could change.
He had a dysfunctional team in Cleveland. Kawhi left.
That's
You're just building the narrative. Wherever LeBron goes, there's great dysfunction, And we've just, again, they've signed every misfit that was available. This is Major League, the movie. Let's see if it works out.
Welcome back. Greg Jennings here, joined now by the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to Alabama, where there's been a lot of talk of quarterback controversy this year after Tua's heroic performance, freshman replacing Jalen Hurts in last year's national championship game. That kid is good. Former Nick Saban assistant turned antagonist Lane Kiffin said recently he thinks his old boss is going to play both guys in the opener. Saban himself said this week, why wouldn't we utilize both guys? Uh-oh, Whitlock. Right move?
It's the right move for Alabama football to hold on to both of these guys. Tua's not the biggest guy. Tua could get hurt. And so you have Jalen Hurts as a emergency backup situation. And so I think what Lane Kiffin is saying, and I think said kind of clearly, is you play them both in the first game, that no one transfers. Jalen Hurts doesn't transfer. Now you have them both locked in for the season. You go after your national title. You got two quarterbacks. I think it's a mistake because I think it's unfair to Jalen Hurts. To me, Tua is the better quarterback.
Yeah.
Tua is going to be the guy. Why hang on to Jalen to be a backup when he can go play someplace else?
Yeah, Tua feels like an NFL player to me. Jalen doesn't. I think it's okay because I think at college it works. In college football, regardless of your great quarterbacks, how many great quarterbacks has Urban Meyer had? You win. Nick Saban, this is his first great quarterback talent. You win. In the NFL, Belichick in Cleveland didn't have a great quarterback. Fired. I mean, Jason Garrett's winning 13 games. Romo gets hurt. Worst team in the league. In the NFL, college is a coach's league. College football is about the coach. He picks all the players, 25 new guys. Oklahoma wins national titles. NFL's not filled full of Oklahoma quarterbacks. You can win with marginal quarterback play, two quarterbacks in college. Oklahoma won a national title once, I think, revolving guys back and forth.
Look, I don't have a problem with playing two quarterbacks. I just think it's unfair to Jalen Hurts.
No,
if he knows because he's going to be the backup, and I think he can go play someplace else.
Yeah.
This is totally not the right move by Nick Saban. This is selfish.
Yeah.
And for me, I look at it from a completely different vantage point. I'm a college recruit, and I go into someone's house, and I'm telling their parents and them as they sit there, we're going to put your son in the best position possible so he can be successful. Well, you're not doing that if you're keeping him just to make sure you have a safety net. No, let him go because we clearly know that Jalen Hurts is one-dimensional.
Yes.
There is restrictions with Alabama's offense when Jalen Hurts is under the helm.
True.
With Tua, all things are a go. I mean, we saw players get excited and make plays that we were like, where did this guy come from? Where did he? Yeah. The offense was all access granted with Tua, and it was a completely different Alabama team. In my opinion, they're unbeatable if they play the way they play on defense, and you open that offensive like passing game and running game, they're unbeatable.
I'm going to defend Nick Saban here from this point of view. So Tua comes in as a true freshman, okay? Destroys the second half of the national championship game. They win it. How is a 20-year-old guy going to handle being the big man on campus this fall? Okay, he's going to be on the cover of every magazine. He is going to be, as you said, an NFL prospect. The NFL loves him. Everybody's excited about this guy. He threw 77 passes last year. You give someone too much too soon, and I just wonder if Nick Saban, he just is not fully sold on Tua just coming back to campus and, being a quarterback. Is he a celebrity on campus now?
Jason,
I wonder how Nick Saban's
where
going to
have you been living? This is the sports world. We give people praise too soon sometimes, and it works out sometimes it doesn't.
By the way, every position in football, every single position except quarterback, you understand. When you go to USC and play receiver, they're going to recruit 4 new receivers next year. That's understood. Quarterback, I got transfer. There's another guy here. Some of this is just cultural, is that the quarterback position, Nick has to treat it differently because quarterbacks' dads tend to be hovering over programs, and Nick's like, well, I got to have 2 good quarterbacks. I'm the #1 program. A wide receiver, you could be more honest with and go, Greg, we don't think you're going to play. We're going to release you from your scholarship. I got 4 new guys coming in. If you let Jalen Hurts go, Tua runs around, pops an ankle, well, that's the program.
I get it, But Nick Saban does sometimes hold on and try to prevent. A lot of these coaches try to prevent guys from transferring.
They do.
Jason, I want to say to your point, which is a fair one. How's he going to handle success? Both of these kids, from my understanding, Jalen Hurts and Tua, are both great kids.
Yes.
I've actually met Tua. It's over the top how good of a kid this guy is. If there's someone who I think could handle this, it's Tua. He's got a Tebow-esque humility and quality to him that I think he'll be perfectly fine in success. And that's, I just think for Jalen Hurts, I want to go play at a Houston or Memphis, take a step down and go play. That's a lot better. He's already won a national championship. He handled getting benched
How
beautifully.
old is he? Is he a junior?
I think he's a junior, yeah.
I mean, he's not an NFL prospect. He could still do that next year.
But he's on track to graduate in December. And if you want to be a student, and you guys said he's not a future NFL player, why don't you just stay in Alabama, enjoy life on the Tide, maybe win another title?
By the way, he'll play in 10 of their games.
Yeah,
they'll be up at half 40.
He may have showed that he was appreciative and supportive, but he has pride about it.
By the way, that wouldn't be the worst thing for his career, Jalen Hurts. People are like, replaced by a great player and was a good teammate. It's not the worst thing for him.
No, not at all. Our friend Rashad Jennings has written a New York Times best-selling book, The If in Life, How to Get Off Life's Sidelines and Become Your Best Self, sharing his inspiring story and experiences and encouraging readers to follow their dreams. The If in Life is available now wherever books are sold.
We don't get a free one?
All right, welcome back.
We got you. Don't worry.
Greg didn't write a book, but we like him anyway. Let's return to the NFL, where Jimmy Garoppolo made waves last week, going on a very public date with an adult film star. Well, Jimmy G addressed the issue today, saying he realizes things have changed now that he's a franchise quarterback.
Life is different now. My life off the field, I've never really been big on, being very public with things, even social media. I'm not out there a ton, but, my life's looked at differently. I'm under a microscope, and it's like Kyle said, it is a good learning experience. Just have to take it in stride. I mean, it is what it is.
All right, Cowherd, does this put the Jimmy G string controversy to bed?
It does. That's PR 101. That is, own it, apologize, I'm done with it. Everybody says it's no big deal. Ask yourself this. We're all on our phone tonight, okay? And you push a wrong button.
I've done this.
And you put porn on your Twitter.
Oh, I have.
What'll the reaction be on the internet? Oh, man. It won't be like just a picture of your sister or your dog. Greg Jennings is looking at porn. Oh, my God. Porn's different. It's not Meryl Streep, okay? Like, everybody tells me, porn, it's just the adult film. Franchise quarterback, porn star. I'm sorry, they don't work. That's like tuna fish, ice cream. I like tuna fish and ice cream. I don't like them together.
I do like sushi and ice cream.
I've had them together. Listen, I don't think this puts it to bed, though.
Really?
Yeah, no, I really don't. I think he handled it well. He did what he was supposed to do. But the only thing that's going to put it to bed is great play.
Yeah.
That's how you put a situation to bed in his situation. If he does not play well, he has exposed something about himself that will be used against him. He's got a freaky side, a real freaky side. And that, again, it's going to be like, is he distracted? Does he have some kind of addiction issue? Is he Tiger Woods? If he doesn't play well, all these questions are going to be asked.
Oh.
Hey, man, y'all got me rolling over here. Listen, it's, I think, one, what's the issue? The issue is the fact that he went out with a porn star.
And he's a franchise
quarterback.
He's the cornerstone of the the face of the franchise.
Right, and that's the issue. The issue is just simply because he's the face of the franchise. So then, therefore, we monitor who you date.
Right.
That's what we're saying.
We monitor your behavior.
No.
Behavior.
Colin, I think you used the wrong word, Colin. Don't let him put you on the defensive. No one's monitoring what he's doing. He put it out there. He put it out there for the world to see. He went out in public with her in Los Angeles, in paparazzi headquarters, Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
We wasn't monitoring. We were all minding our own business, and he put his business out on the street.
That's fair. But, I mean, He did. I do agree with you, though. Anytime somebody's under the microscope, they're going to use what they can. So if he doesn't play well, they're going to be jokes all day. All right. But if he goes out there and play well, it's going to be washed under the rug. It's not going to be talked about anymore.
That's why I don't think it has nothing. Number one, let me say this. He did the right thing by saying it's a learning experience. I basically didn't know how big I'd become. Fair. But to say that this would be held, it's not over because it's held until we see him perform well, no. This has absolutely zero to do with how he performs. We've seen who Jimmy Garoppolo was in New England. We've seen who he was at the end of the season last year.
I don't want to stop you. I just want to pause you. So what you're saying is your home life has no impact on your professional life.
I'm not saying that. It definitely does. But it definitely does. Specifically when your home life is an actual home family life. But when you're single, and you know this. You can speak to this.
Let me press pause, Greg. So you're telling me being married and in a settled family didn't improve your professional life? Because I hear a lot of married people say, man, when you get things settled at home, your career takes off.
I think that could be argued on both sides. It gave me stability in a foundation because I knew what I was going home to. But for those, I honestly think that sometimes guys who are single, they have much more to manage because they have so much going on and they want to get involved in everything. So for them to be able to manage that, my point is he's been doing this. Trust me, he ain't just started this.
We only got a little bit of information on him as a player.
Let me push back on this. This idea, I disagree with Rashad on this. If he wins, nobody will care. All right. So they're 6-1, and he goes out every Saturday with a different porn star. You don't think it's a national story?
No, come on, Kyle.
You don't think so?
Yeah, he can't do that. I mean,
well, why can't he? I mean, it's just, it's adult videos. We all watch them or what?
No.
I mean, I think
Colin, I disagree with you, though. If he's 6-1, he can go out with whoever the hell he wants.
You don't think
he can go out with Eartha Kitt. Remember the movie Boomerang? He can go out with Eartha Kitt. If he's 6-1, he can do whatever the hell he wants.
You don't think there's any story?
It might be
It'll be a story, but it'll be celebrated. Be like, oh, man, maybe everybody should try.
If he loses, they might be like, hey, man, what's up? You need to go on a date.
Yeah.
It could be the very opposite.
They might be like, hey, let's get Cam Newton on this program.
How you going to throw Cam Newton?
Come on, man. To New York, Odell Beckham Jr. showed up at Giants training camp today, despite an earlier threat to hold out if he didn't get a massive new deal. Odell's outsized personality has often overshadowed his immense talents, but now a former Giant, Antrel Roll, says OBJ has matured and can be one of the most dominant leaders the team has ever had. Whitlock, you agree?
No, I don't think that Odell Beckham Jr. under any circumstances could be a great leader. Wow. But we have one of his former teammates here, so I'm just going to shut up.
I mean, you said under any circumstance. Wow.
Great leader.
You think he has leadership qualities?
Absolutely, hands down. I mean, we all can agree to. Listen, so one, I've had the privilege of playing with this guy since he's entered into the NFL. I remember the first 4 games, he was injured. I remember him coming up to me, saying, Rashad, teach me a couple things, how to take care of my body. We'll show him a couple warm-ups, introducing him to MAT, acupuncture, different things. I watched him then transform and kill the game, turn into an overnight celebrity. I watched his work ethic skyrocket, the way he eats, the way he trains, all the tangibles that makes him successful. I've also watched the camera fall in love with him as well. And I think a lot of times we don't want to bring up the conversation of how hard he works when the camera's not around. All right? He does. I'm attested to that. I see that. Everybody, if he talks, people are going to listen. His tangibles are there, no question, hands down. The question is, does he want to be a great leader? That should be the question, not is he capable.
Well, that's part of being a great leader. He may not want to be.
Well, are we talking about tangibles to be, or are we talking about does he want to?
Do you think he wants to be a leader?
Yes.
Well, here's what's funny. Here's who are considered great leaders in New York, Eli and Jeter. And they weren't big personalities. Here is who is considered great talents in New York, A-Rod and OBJ. Like, I think there's a big gap between talent and leadership. First of all, very few 20-year-olds are great leaders. I mean, we make the president be, what, 42? You can't run for president because we don't think you have it in you to lead a country. I think a locker room maybe has, when I covered the Tampa Bay Bucks, Tony Dungy, Sam Weish, we had about 4 guys. Hardy Nickerson. Do you remember Hardy Nickerson? Mm-hmm. Leader. Middle linebacker. Trent Dilfer, leader. Most guys were just talented. It's very possible, and I don't blame, this is no shame in this. OBJ's a remarkable talent. But he didn't want to be a leader. I don't need all my guys to be leaders. I would like Russell Wilson and Matt Ryan to lead, but if a player doesn't want to lead at 26, I'm good. Don't be a distraction, but you don't have to be a leader.
Look, I think he's capable of being a leader, but it's not going to come the way we all typically see great leaders, vocally and leading by example. I think his leadership has to be in doing, because when you look at what he has done, a lot of receivers get labeled as divas, and sometimes unrightly so. Yeah. But when I look at Odell Beckham, the things that he has done on his team or to his team has not been leadership material, because he's hurt the team. I'm not talking about being upset with not getting the ball. That's passion. That's all. But the celebrating, the penalties, all those different things, that's hurting. Leaders don't do those types of things. So I think. Party. But I think no, I can't throw that in there, because that was on his own time. That was on his own time. It just so happened he didn't perform well after he did that. My point is, he has to lead now by example. Nothing you say really carries any weight, because I've seen too much. Now I have to see something different, and then the voice comes afterward.
Welcome back. Jason McIntyre is back, joined now by NBA champ Caron Butler. Let's move to the association, where Kawhi Leonard took some heat for his feud with the Spurs, with some claiming he was a diva for seeking outside medical treatment. But now Kawhi has found a defender in the guy traded to Toronto with him, Danny Green, who says he played with a groin tear last season that the Spurs staff failed to diagnose.
Throughout the season, we've monitored it, but we never went back to check on it again, because so many other injuries have happened. And, I could have got a second opinion. So I see where Kawhi has come from when he's got his second opinion. Because a lot of times you'll get information from outside sources, and not saying that Spurs staff is not up to par, it's just that not everybody's a specialist in every area. So in the season, I had to get another MRI. You get your physicals, the exit physicals, and I had a strain was still there, a little tear. So second opinion could have helped, but they did a great job. They did everything they could, but I think it would have been nice to see a specialist just to see if there was another angle, another view, So just because Kawhi went and got a second opinion, you can't knock him for that.
Oh, that's interesting. Green has since tried to say, taken out of context. I'm not sure how you could take that out of context. He talked for a minute. Whitlock, bad look for the Spurs?
I'm not ready to go bad look for the Spurs. I think this is a typical look for sports teams. And I think it's a typical look for the medical profession. Things get misdiagnosed, things get overlooked, mistakes are made. These people aren't perfect. I had this situation as a college football player where my right knee was misdiagnosed, torn ACL, went and got a second opinion after the season from the Colts team doctor, diagnosed it within 2 or 3 minutes. No malicious intent, just mistakes happen.
15 years, kumbaya in San Antonio. Tim Duncan leaves. Aldridge, get me out of here. Kawhi, pushback. Danny Green, second opinion. 15 years, that medical staff never made a mistake. I got 3 guys since Duncan left. The Messiah in the locker room who preached the religion. He leaves. Greg Popovich lost his security guard. He lost his Messiah. And now I got Aldridge, Danny, Kawhi, all pushing back. That doesn't seem like a coincidence to me. I mean, it doesn't.
No, it really doesn't. And I always felt like the medical staff for an organization always have the best interests for the team.
Sure.
I repeat, the medical staff for an organization always have the best interest for the team. So, listen, the same injury that Kawhi had throughout the season, they was trying to rush him to get back. He got a second opinion. Look, you need to take your time. Now, if it was in the summer, that same medical staff, I feel in my heart, would have told him, look, you need to take the summer off. Heal, get your tempo right, get ready. and get ready for the upcoming season. That's just what happened. Like, the medical staff is fans, too. They want to see their team be a better version of themselves, and what better way to be your best without your best player and your superstar in Kawhi Leonard? They're fans.
This is a tough one. I mean, those are great points. I have a problem here blaming the Spurs, because let's look at it two ways. If Danny Green doesn't play like Kawhi didn't, he's soft and he's not tough and he's not a man. He's not going to tough it out. But if he goes for that second opinion and he plays through it and gets hurt again like Isaiah Thomas did, well, he's a moron. Yeah, what an idiot. So it's just a tough spot for athletes because they got to look out for number one, right? You have to look out for yourself and your family. And like you said, the teams are looking out for their own because they want to win. They're fans. So reluctantly, I'm going to side with the Spurs here. Danny Green bent over backwards in this podcast to say, listen, it's not on the Spurs. It's not their fault. The media is taking it out of control.
Because he still wants to have a basketball shelf life. You know, you can't jump out there on the limb and say anything when you're in the trenches.
Especially when you're a marginal guy.
Yeah, you're a marginal guy at this point in his career, not, top 10 shooters out there from a percentage-wise, or not the youngest guy out there, a little long in the tooth. So, he has to do these things. Has to be a great locker room guy, has to say all the right things. He backtracked a couple of the statements, said it exactly like he should have.
And then spun it into blaming the media, right? Which is the smart and the safe move. We're easy targets, right? You come after the media, yeah.
Look,
It does validate Kawhi a little.
I think so. Look, I think we've all reached a point where I think Karan's point is right in terms of the medical staff are fans too. But the organizations now have millions upon millions of dollars riding on wins and losses, success, and all that. And so I think we all should have reached a point where there's so much money involved, the athletes have no choice but to be cynical. That's about everything, about are you getting the best advice from the coaching staff, from the medical staff? There's so much money involved that you have to be a skeptic, and I don't blame anybody that goes out and seeks a second opinion. I think Danny Green, I don't know if he's so much protecting the Spurs as just being mature and saying, you know what, let's don't demonize the Spurs because the same thing could happen to me at any of these organizations.
Listen, I mean, if you're a player and you have your eyelids open, you got Seattle. We're never leaving Seattle. Hour later, they're in Oklahoma City. I mean, you have GMs, Dan Gilbert, LeBron chooses another city, Dan Gilbert writes basically you're a traitor. If I'm a player in this league, how am I not cynical? How do I not take care of myself? All I see is these owners taking care of owners. All I see is GMs taking care of GMs. By the way, guy gets fired 6 times, he'll get another job. All I see is coaches getting jobs, friends taking care of friends, taking care of friends. Why can't an athlete take care of himself?
He can. The only thing I would just temper it with is just step into the other guy's shoes. Because a lot of these players are significant. They move into front office positions. They move into coaching positions. We're going to have guys like LeBron, it's already happened with Michael Jordan, they move into ownership positions. And they'll be making the exact same decisions as the current ownership, current coaches, current executives. They'll be doing the same things. And so I'm reluctant to demonize anybody. And look, I know some of these teams do cut corners and maybe don't have the best interest, but overall, they're just conducting business, and it's the same business the players may be in later and making the exact same decisions. Welcome back. Time for last call. Let's move to Los Angeles, where former Laker and current Clipper Lou Williams says that despite LeBron's decision to join the Lakers, the Clippers are still the best team in Los Angeles. Cowherd, is Williams crazy here to think the Clippers are better than the Lakers?
Who's their best player?
Tobias Harris.
Who's the Lakers' best player?
Rajon Rondo.
Yeah, it's a little crazy.
LeBron James.
I think the Lakers are. I think Clippers have depth. They don't have a star, and I'll take a star over depth.
Clippers may have an advantage in coaching. Clippers may have a.
Well, maybe.
They got less head cases.
Wow.
They got less head cases. You never know. We'll see. All right, to Pittsburgh, where Antonio Brown made a big interest today, showing up at the Steelers training camp in a helicopter. Cowherd, is this how you come to work? I mean, Is this proof wide receivers are divas?
No, because it's been proven 100 years ago. This is just the latest wide receiver to be over the top. You ever been in a helicopter?
I have.
They're
in
Great.
Hawaii. I've
Oh,
never reported to work in a helicopter, though.
You know what? That's a good entrance. How about you and I tomorrow come here in a helicopter?
I don't have
Get
money
noticed.
to burn like
Show who's
Antonio
boss
Brown.
around here.